Nothing happens overnight. Like the reflection of a star's light, my life is evidence of ancient prayers made manifest. I am the resurrection of my mother's wishes. I am 1,000 vicious suns blazing over an infinite ocean. I am potent. I wave to the universe like, waiter, bring me a miracle. And it brings me myself, so I can witness me clearer. All the nights I prayed to God, not knowing God was in the mirror somewhere. A moon is doing rituals while watching a full me in HD. My human design declares I'm divine. I dance in the valley of death like I got diamonds in my spine. I'm sublime. I'm teaching yoga to time. She stretches and bends at my will. I watch the world move in chaos, but my spirit stands still. Still, I rise. I feast my eyes on distant stars. I'm heating up like Mars. I am the bar. And I raise myself like a parent. It's apparent I am the one I have been waiting for. You are the one you have been waiting for. We are the ones we have been waiting for. So, what are we waiting for?
Welcome to Ladies First, a show where we're having conversations about having respect for womanhood. I'm your host, Kieshawn Brown. I attend Westchester High School and I'm a junior. And today joining me I have Dr. Goodall. She has a 16-year-old son and she is a Ph.D. industrial organizational psychologist.
Yep.
Well, first and foremost, I just wanted to thank you for coming on my show.
Of course. Happy to be here.
Well, I wanted you to come on my show because you're a mother of a 16-year-old boy and you have tons of experience as a mother and a therapist. And I believe that you'll be able to provide what respect for womanhood should like for my generation. So the first question I have is, what does womanhood mean to you overall?
So, when I think about womanhood, it's the essence of being a woman. It's the complexities as a unity, as a community, understanding and being able to sympathize with one another, um, being able to understand how different the journey is from my experience to the next. Community, what we can share about one another. It's really a sacred like solidarity between women and just the complexities that we all go through, and how we hold space for one another, how we encourage growth, how we encourage each other. So in a short sense, that's what I would think of womanhood.
Do you think society places a high respect? Do you think society places a high value on having respect for womanhood?
Repeat that again.
Do you think society places a high value of having respect for womanhood?
No. um so in my research, I did research on women in corporate America, and in there, just research alone just shows the statistical differences from when men and women. And then even more so when you look into especially like the Black community, the differences are greater. So we'll look at counterparts between like white male, white woman, and then Black men, Black women. There's a huge gap. And then there's an even further gap between Black men and Black women. So just on a statistical level, there's a gap there. But just in society at a social level, the value isn't there. No, the respect isn't there. And so I don't feel like there is a high value put on us as women. Um, and further, a lack of respect put on us as Black women.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like whether it's on the older side or like even younger, because I feel like people my age are being taught just by people that aren't good overall. So they like pass it down pretty much. Like they'll say, just like women really aren't worth nothing. I feel like that's not true.
Mm.
Cause it's like, yeah, this is this. I was doing it. So it's just
What I think too is I think about generational differences. I think about me as a mom versus my mother and my grandmother, and how we answer these questions would be completely different. So Like for my grandmother, it was a different day and age and era. They were more interdependent on one another for survival, and for their basic needs to be met. They depended on one another. So I felt like there was more of a level of respect in a sense back then. And during my grandmother was in her 90s when she passed, versus even my mom and then to me. Whereas my generation, we're more independent. You know, we don't necessarily have to rely on men for economic gain anymore. We can, divorce, all that stuff and still be okay. But back in my grandmother's generation, that wasn't, the case. So even though we've seen societal progression, I feel like the respect and the progress hasn't necessarily matched the progression, if that makes sense. Um, and, I- you know, I don't think there's a single reason why that is, but it's just worth acknowledging. Like, I felt like my grandfather, they had this respect and this honor for their women. They looked after them. I felt like Black men were there to protect, whereas in my generation, I'd be willing to do a poll and see how many Black women feel protected and respected by the Black men. I feel like we lost our value of trust amongst the Black men. I don't know, would you agree?
Yeah, I agree. What do you think the biggest way people devalue women that go unnoticed?
I think you said the key word. The operative word is unnoticed. And it's the subtle differences. It's those subtle movements, those microaggressions, the things that often go unnoticed. And I feel like it's a culmination of all that stuff. Um, Thinking about just day to day, for example, this week I heard three different situations from three different women where they were disrespected by a man, by a Black man. These are Black women. So I'm just speaking only to Black women, where they were devalued. It was sexualized comments, inappropriate behavior. And I feel like it's those things every day that women have to prepare themselves for. It's not enough that we have to go out into the world and do the same things that men do. We have to Women work now. Majority of women work. We have careers, we have social lives, and I feel like we also have to have a guard up for ourselves too from Black men. Like, why do you feel comfortable saying inappropriate things to us, having inappropriate hypersexualized comments, or feel, even like one of the comments was just a unsolicited touch. And it's those things that go unnoticed and sometimes unchecked. And it's that progressive over a long period of time. And what I often hear is, oh, media perpetuates that. I don't know, do you agree with that?
Um, I feel like the main thing is probably music. Cause kids my age, we listen to music. Obviously, like when you growing up, and you want to look up to the person that you listen to, or like want to be like them. So if they sitting there talking bad about women on the song, you gonna think, oh, maybe this is okay. I can just go and do it. So I feel like music is one of the ways that they devalue it, because they put it in songs and make it seem like, oh, it's just not a big deal. Like you could just do this. Like that's how I feel.
Well, okay, let's talk about that. They put it in music and say it's not a big deal. So then the way I'm thinking is, it's not the music itself, it's what you just said. Oh, they think it's okay. Who made it okay? Someone has to approve it.
Yeah.
Somebody has to put it on the radio. So, where's the checks and balances of that? And why is that marketable? Why is that for profit to disrespect women? And so I don't blame media alone. I don't think it's like single-handedly the thing. I think it is perpetuating the disrespect. But I think we have to look at, media is a platform. It can't call, it's a platform that people go on and present their messages. So the problem really lies in the message itself. Who are the people writing this? Who are the artists? Who are the writers? Who are people coming up with these narratives and then put it out on the radio or on media to make it okay. So I feel like if we're going to address the problem, let's start with the root of it. Why is it even okay to go on a radio or stream a song calling women a? I feel like it's a bigger issue of like success, especially in Black communities. I feel like when I think about what it means to be successful nowadays, even like thinking about music, it's to me it's like three major things that you hear that people rap about, what they sing about. Let's see if you can identify them. What's one?
Money,
Money,
girls.
girls,
I don't know the last one.
and maybe like fame,
Oh yeah,
reputation. You know, I feel like those are like the three pillars of success nowadays.
yeah,
And I'm like, we've gotten so far from honor and dignity and progressing that that's what defines someone as being successful, is if you have, you're gonna hear it in every rap song, you're gonna
yeah.
hear it perpetuated in the media. So I'm like, we just have to start with addressing the root of the problem. Why is that okay? You know, so
Yeah. Well, the next question is, if you could change one thing about how women are treated today, what would it be and why?
I think I want to start with the problem. I think the biggest problem is that as a Black woman, I feel like my humanity is ignored. So if I'm thinking about a way forward, I would say let's just start with equal playing fields. How do we identify the value? And again, I'm going to focus on Black people because I'm a Black woman. I can only speak from my experience. We're partners. How do I see one, the value in myself? And then how do a Black man see the value in themselves, and how can we see the value in each other? I feel like the problem is that sometimes men use this language as trying to degrade women to feel better about themselves. But one of my biggest messages is we're better together. If we can see the power within ourselves, the value in one another, and the power that we possess together, then that'll be a good starting point. Like, how do you can you just view me as a human being, not as all the other labels? Let's just start with I'm a human and I have feelings too. I don't want to walk outside and be called a, I don't want to be called outside of my name, because it happens, especially when approached by a man, or and you don't want to talk to them, you're not interested. It's almost like, and I'm pretty sure a lot of Black women can agree to this, you have to go out with this guard on, like this toughness, like where you're mentally telling people, don't F with me. Like, and to have that guard on. And so it's just like, I want to feel secure by the Black man. I want to be able to, one thing I love about the South when I go there and visit family is like, oh, hey, my sister. Like, that feels so good and respected. How do we get back to that? And I think it starts with what I was saying, just humanity. See the value in me and how we can come together as a community. Like, I don't think you guys see that in high school, right? Like,
Well,
if you go and you see a girl, you don't say, hey, sister, like, and not necessarily using that word, but I feel like it's empowering to acknowledge that you are my sister
yeah,
and I care for you and I love you. And I feel like that's what those subtle messages saying, instead of saying, oh, look at that, you
yeah.
know? Yeah.
Um, who was a woman in your life that taught you about self-respect, and what did she teach you?
So, self respect, first of all, is it's not one thing, it's a multitude of things. So, when you think about your self respect, you're thinking about your boundaries, how you allow people to treat you, how you treat yourself, your self-worth. I think that's the biggest thing with self-respect. In order to demand respect, you have to know that you have value that you want to protect for yourself. So I can't say that it was one single woman in my life that taught me self-respect versus a multitude of women. For example, my grandmother just had so much wisdom, and she passed that down to me, just a wisdom of life and lessons, knowledge of the world. Then I have my mother who taught me extreme like work ethic, strength, hard work, those sorts of things. Then I have like my girlfriends and my best friends who are mirrors to me and would always reflect back to me like my values, especially when I felt like the world would try to break me or if I was going through a tough time. My girlfriends were always there to remind me and be a mirror to me and reflect back like my strengths, my beauties, what I contribute, and was a reminder of who I am when I felt sometimes I would lose it. And then also people that paved the way for a lot of women. So the trailblazers, I think about like the Maya Angelou's and like the Angela Davises, who taught us that self-respect is non-negotiable, who really paved the way for us to be who we are today and stand and be proud. And so when I think about that and I think about the women before me, I feel like I carry all of that. It's like an armor almost. And it should be demanded. But I feel like we still have some ways. Women alone can't do it. But everyone can, have self respect. It's by way of, do you see my respect? Do you respect me? And I'm going to have enough respect for the both of us, even if you don't see it. So.
What advice would you give to men my age about demanding respect from women?
Say it again.
What advice would you give to like men my age about demanding respect from women?
I feel like let's go back to I feel like one common thing that the Black mother goes out there and teaches you: treat people like how you want to be treated. You know, I think about the derogatory terms that are out there, and like for example, like you said, I have a 16-year-old son, and I just start with the basic principle of having respect for people before you see oh, she's Black, she's a woman, she's a human just like you are. And everyone is born with, I'm not going to say equal playing field, but everyone is born with their obstacles, their challenges, and so forth. But how do we see people just as people? Let's start there. They wake up just like you, they bleed and die just like you. How do we have a common respect for people? Let's start there. And then you go out in the world and just have sympathy. Life as is hard enough. And I feel like just treat people with respect, treat people how you want to be, the treatment you want to receive. And it's the basic. It's the basic. Like when you see a friend, you say, "Oh, what's up?" It's casual, it's cordial. Why is it different? Why does it have to be man versus woman?
Yeah.
Why is it a competition thing? Like why can't we push unity? Community. That's what it should be.
I agree. The thing that stood out the most was treat people how you want to be treated. I've been hearing that like my whole life. I'm pretty sure everybody has. And it just really, it's like, it makes a lot of sense to me because it's like, I don't know, that's just,
But I think
I don't
about
know.
what young people, especially high schoolers, you guys have an advantage.
Yeah.
It's like your generation can kind of go either way. I feel like we have kind of gotten away these days from like prominent male figures being role models in the home. I feel like we have kind of gotten away from that. But I feel what your generation can be is like allies.
Mm-hmm.
And especially at the high school level, I think that's a very important time because when you think about this is really when you're learning like social dynamics and things like that, and you still are impressionable. So for example, like if you're at school and you see someone calling like, "Oh, look at that bitch," or something like that, it's like take it as an obligation, as a duty to correct it, to correct behavior. And I know we talked about women, like even now amongst ourselves, amongst women, we take it as a badge of honor now. Some people, call, "Oh, we're bad," things like that, and we internalize it. I think as a man, almost like you have a social responsibility to, if this is the change you want to see in the world, be a part of the solution. So call it out. Even when women, we don't have enough respect from ourselves because maybe we didn't get that from our mothers or our grandmothers. You don't know how people were raised, but say something like, don't call yourself like, why are you saying that? Think highly of yourself. Like, how do we make that cool? How do we make it cool to say, like, stop with the derogatory? Like, let's put some respect on our names. And I think about the example of like the movement, Black men don't cheat. And I think that it was a positive message to kind of reinvent the narrative. And I think as Black people, and especially as high schoolers, that's something that you guys can take on. If this is the change you want to see in the world, really be about it. Like you hear the casual talking amongst themselves. Oh, he acting like a. I'm saying that word so much. I don't know if they're gonna bleep it out or not. But like, are you acting like a? What is that supposed to mean? So people like think about the root of the problem. People associate women with So when you're saying, oh, don't act like a, you're saying don't act like a woman. What is that supposed to be, a weakness?
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't really get that term. Like, I feel like just saying that, you could be saying that to a guy, but at the same time, you're still devaluing a woman because it's like, what are you trying to say? Like,
I feel like it's like calling out a weakness, especially
yeah,
in sports. I feel like I hear more like, do you play sports?
I play football.
I
I
feel
hear it a
like
lot on the field.
like when you're not showing enough grit, it's like, oh, stop acting like, push through, push through. And I'm like, actually, women are very persistent and we
Yeah.
have a high emotional intelligence. And so I feel like we need our brothers as ally to kind of speak up for that stuff too. And just be like, why would you say that? That's not cool. Like, let's say something else. Like, use the correct terminology. Like, and I think that comes with emotional intelligence too. Like, up your vocabulary. What you mean? What you mean by that? Get your lingo together. Like,
Yeah,
I'll make it into a joke because I feel like that's how you guys talk with one another. It's like a competitive like banter.
yeah, I agree.
And so I feel like we just have to find little ways within ourselves to promote that behavior. And it's going to start with your generation. I feel like in high school, we didn't really have any of that. Like we said, we had the songs and stuff like that, but we didn't really have anybody stepping up and trying to change the narrative. I feel like that's a good opportunity for your generation to take on to push that.
Well, anytime I hear that, I just, even if it's from like a, like you said, like a girl, or even from my homie, I just like tell them like just to chill with that, because it's like, what if you heard somebody calling your mom that? It's, you got to put yourself in like the girl's shoes.
Hmm.
It's just, it's not a good word to say, in my opinion.
Well, I'm like, would you say it in front of your mama?
That
Some
too.
people might. I don't know.
It depends on where you was raised. I would
It's been
never
how
say
you
that.
was raised.
I wouldn't say that in front of my
I
mom.
know
I'm
some
gonna
of
get
these black
slapped.
moms, they were,
Yeah, if I said that, I'd get slapped. So I wouldn't even try that.
yeah. So I'm like, say what you mean. What is that supposed to mean? And women, for ourselves, like the respect, got it. We can't demand that respect from men when we're not giving it to ourselves. So I wouldn't say it's conducive to the movement to be calling ourselves behind closed doors or in social settings, and then you get mad when someone else calls you out for, calls you out of your name. And that's just one kind of example. I feel like that's just a more prevalent one nowadays, that it I see the disrespect because it's not always blatant. It could be subtle. Um, and I feel like we just have a duty to kind of start those conversations. And it don't have to be a full out conversation. I would like I was saying, I would laugh and be like, "What do you mean by that? Like, you don't have any other words you can use in your vocabulary?" Like, okay.
Well, thank you for coming on my show. I just want to say that. And where else can the people find you?
So I pretty much am across platforms. My Instagram is Asia.Goodall, at Asia.Goodall, and that's the same thing for like my Twitter. It's pretty much my handle. My website, AsiaGoodall.com. You can find me there. And yeah, pretty much.
Okay, well, this is the first episode of Ladies First. We'll catch you guys next week. Like, follow, and subscribe.